Greetings, family. Here to discuss the issues you will encounter if you are changing flights, securing insurance, what that looks like, and how long it takes. Okay, so if you've been following my journey, you know that I went from uh, Virginia to London to Ghana, right? Then I went from Ghana to Sierra Leone, and then from Sierra Leone to the Gambia. Now, the reason why I'm stating all this is because I want you all to kind of follow the logic of how I took these flights and paid for them. When I booked my flights, I booked them one way, right? Like I've talked to various people about what that looks like when you book one way. When you try to book round trip, it's very expensive. But if you book your tickets one way, you're able to pay one way, then book from that location to the next location, and so on. So some of those airlines were not showing up in the States. Like it showed you that you couldn't fly from here to these locations, but you can. You just have to do it from those individual countries. Okay, so that's the first thing. So, in addition to booking your ticket, you're reserving your seats and you're hoping you actually get your seats. And then you're booking insurance. So, for the little local trips, like I really didn't worry about insurance. I was more concerned about insurance for the longer rides from the States to the African continent. I was more concerned about that. So currently, when I went to get on my flight, they didn't let us on the flight because they said the tickets didn't match the reservation. So that had more to do with the third party ticket agent. So I booked insurance, and my thing was since they didn't let us get on a flight, I had to book another flight, and that flight was additional money. That flight, that change in arrangement should be covered by the insurance company. So then you have to deal with giving proof of why you're requesting these funds back based on the flight being changed, those things being out of your control, and they should be reimbursing you for that flight change, whatever that additional fee is, right? So that's one thing I thought was important that you all might want to be aware of. Also, prior to going and taking this big trip, I tried to book a flight in July, right? To Belize. I have a friend from school there, and she owns a great deal of land, so I tried to go see her. So with that situation, after the fact, I guess Belize issued a a statement from the government, CDC regulation, stating that you could fly to Belize, but you had to stay at the resort. You could not go out on the island. So that wasn't an option for me because I was going to stay at my friend's location to stay on her property and be able to explore and find out what investment opportunities were there and that sort of thing. So that ended up not working out. So I had to change the flight, and I still have that credit to go to Belize. To be clear, you have to use it the way you bought it. So if I'm flying from the US to Belize, that's the only way I can use it. I can't use it to go from any other airport. It has to be from the airport that I booked it from originally to the location. It's good to 2022, but I'm hoping not to be here in 2022. So, trying to use that before I go. So, that's just something to keep in mind. Also, when I tried to book something recently, they were like, "Oh, you got like a $600 credit, but it's 1,000 one way." And I'm like, "What? How's it 1,000 one way?" So they say that all they had available were first class seats, one way, and that was it. And I was like, no, the whole point is using my credit, not trying to pay additional out my pocket. Like, I don't want to do that. So you run into situations like that. The other thing that I encountered was in August, I tried to book a flight for the Gambia. I booked the flight only to be called and told that the flight was canceled completely. At that time, I was working. The job wasn't too thrilled about me going for 3 weeks. So um, they later, they complained about it, but I was going to be going. So once the flight was canceled, I just withdrew my request to take the vacation. So that um, credit was not issued until December. Yep. That was like August 15th. And I just recently got that credit at the end of December, literally. And I was like blown away. Like, I'm finally, it's here. So like that's what you're looking at when you cancel flights, when you're expecting credits, when you're looking for a refund. It is not an easy process, so be prepared for that. Make sure when you're booking, with everything that's going on, that you're booking with airlines that have flexible dates, that there won't be any penalties, right? Be aware of that, especially if it's your first time flying. So this time around, if I have to book anything, I'm making sure I have insurance, of course. Most likely, I'll be looking at one-way tickets because it's just, cheaper to do it that way. And the other thing you want to keep in mind is if you have a passport and your passport is expiring within 6 months, you cannot use that. You need to renew your passport before you go. They don't want your passport expiring in their country and you end up just kind of disappearing, right? The other thing I plan to do, if I go any place and I plan on being there for a substantial amount of time, I'm going to alert the embassy that I'm in the country, right? And I don't know what their policy is for a check-in or anything like that, but I feel like it's important that you let them know that you're in the, you're there, you're in the country, you're moving about. Um, and as a final note, I would say make sure that you take care of like all of your medical stuff before you go. Like I was saying in another video that I made sure I ran for like a quick medical appointment, but I also booked with my PCP, that's what we call it in the States, your primary care physician. And I booked with the dentist and I booked with my eye doctor and what else? GYN, right? Go for your final GYN, get that mammogram or whatever you need before you go to make sure you're not going with any issues. Like, that's what I would recommend. And I imagine that if there's any of that I need to do on a continent, I can. The difference is I won't have my insurance on the continent, right? So I'll have to make sure that I take care of what I need when I get there. The one thing I'm looking forward to is that I know I won't need all the vitamins and stuff that I take now. Like I won't need that on the continent. But these are just some things that I think you should take in mind, keep in mind, take into account if you are going to be traveling, if you're making arrangements. If you're looking for refunds, looking for credits, and preparing, like these are the things you want to keep up on. The final thing, which I said was the final thing before, however, there's one other thing. When you do arrive at your location, you want to make sure that you know what kind of visa you have, right? You don't want to have one of these visas where you have to be running in and out of the country every 30 days or every 60 days or every 90. And if that's the case, then you want to make sure you connect with someone who can assist you with that process. That's important. Um, that's all I have for right now. But if I think of anything else, I will let you all know. I just thought that was important to cover, and we'll talk soon. So this is like part one, right? Because as more things come up, I'll do a part two. Blessings.